Tony Dahlman, King Solomon's Ring. King Solomon's Ring. Tony Dahlman.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, I'd like to start out by saying, who here has heard of Prairie Home Companion? So we got a few people in the audience. For those of you who don't know, Prairie Home Companion is an old-fashioned radio show. It is played on National Public Radio. The head of Prairie Home Companion is Garrison Keillor, and he's a musician slash storyteller, and he has centered this entire radio show over the fictional town in Minnesota of Lake Wobegon. Now, I'm not saying I grew up in Lake Wobegon, but it was certainly just down the road, and I can certainly relate to a lot of the things that Garrison Keillor says on the show. There was a movie of the same name, Prairie Home Companion, about this radio show, and in the movie, Garrison Keillor was quoted as saying, "We come from a people who taught us that life is a struggle, and that if you ever feel happy, be patient. This shall pass." I can certainly relate to the Scandinavian Minnesota sensibilities of impermanence and humility. And today I'm going to tell you a story, an old Jewish folk tale about King Solomon and his ring, where we are going to learn a little bit more of those lessons. King Solomon was a great king of Israel. He was well known throughout Israel for his wisdom. He was well known for the amount of power that he was able to have in the region, and he was also well known for the wealth that he was accumulated, and he was widely respected by all. One day, King Solomon decided that he was going to humble one of his closest advisors, Benaiah ben Yehoiada. And to do this, he called Benaiah into his court, and he said, "Benaiah, there exists a golden ring, and I would like to wear it for the Sukkot festival. Sukkot is over 6 months away, so you should have plenty of time to get it." Benaiah said, "If this ring exists, I will get it for you, King Solomon. But I must ask you, what is so special about this ring?" Solomon replied, "It is a magical ring. For whoever wears it, if it is a happy person, he will become sad, and if he is a sad person, he will become happy." So Benaiah went off in search of this ring. He first started with the scribes and the elders of Israel, but they were not able to give him any information about how he was to find this ring. So he decided to go out further, and he went out in the east to the great gurus who lived on top of the mountain. But even after this long journey and climbing all the way to the top of the mountain, he was not able to get any more information about this ring. Benaiah was feeling very downtrodden, and Sukkot was quickly approaching, so he decided to go out for a walk. And he went out for a walk in one of the poorest quarters of Jerusalem. He passed an old man who was selling a lot of his wares on an old shabby carpet, and he decided to talk to this old merchant. He said, "Sir, is there any chance that you have heard of a ring that makes happy people sad and sad people happy?" The grandfather pulled a plain old golden ring off of his carpet, and he engraved something into it. Benaiah took the ring, looked at it, and immediately became happy. The next day, King Solomon called Benaiah to his court, and he said, "Benaiah, have you gotten this ring for me?" And he said this with a smile, and all of his fellow ministers were laughing, because he knew that no such ring existed. But Benaiah pulled the ring out of his pocket and held it up and said, "Your Majesty, I have brought this for you." And King Solomon was immediately intrigued, and he looked at the ring and saw the 3 Hebrew letters, Gimel, Zayin, and Yod. And he knew that these were the first 3 letters for the Hebrew saying, Gum Za Yavor. The English translation, "This too shall pass." And immediately King Solomon's face went sad, because he knew that all of the power, all of the wealth, and all of the wisdom would someday turn to naught, for someday he would turn to dust. So when you too are thinking about some of the very happy times and some of the very sad times in your life, I encourage you to think about the areas of humility and impermanence, because when it comes down to it, this too shall pass. Mr. Toastmaster.